and Bazaar playtest. In this game, well, the rules are fairly simple. You get to move across the 2D plane that I have there for you, and you can interact with anything that you see, but you are restricted to the options on your card there. That's the only way you can interact. When you talk to characters, you can only talk to them, but you can't exactly like converse. Like the conversation will happen as I say it. And yeah, story wise, you are a squire for hire. You're working for a client, in particular, a knight who wants you to get him a magically infused sword. And he tells you to go find the best artificer you can find. And he gives you a hefty bag of money for the artificer. It's not for you, it's for the artificer. So, yes, after much searching, you find your way into the 14th market row in the Grand Bazaar. And here's where you find yourself, and that's where you begin. So it's up to you. Where do you want to go?
Okay. Start here.
Ooh.
I will go and talk to the artificer.
Okay, so you talk to the artificer. The artificer begins looking at you with a penetrating gaze, but that's fairly warm at the same time. She says, "Greetings, young man. Welcome to my humble shop. What would you like today?" And you reply with, "You're just the person I need right now. My client needs a magically infused sword." And she replies, Oh, that's perfect. I can do the magic for you, though I don't happen to have the sword on me right now. However, I can solve that problem for you. I can give you the money you need to go buy the sword from the blacksmith. The only way I can do that, though, is if you give me the money you have for me. Pay me up front and I can get this done for you.
Okay, I'm a fairly trusting person, so I will actually give her my bag of money, so she can give me money to go buy the sword from the blacksmith.
Yes, she's like, "Thank you. That sounds perfect. Now I will give you this small sack of coins that you can go talk with the blacksmith just down the road. And you can take item 9, which is the last one there. Yeah.
Okay.
Alright, now you're out of the conversation with the artificer and you're off to explore.
Alright, I'm just gonna go right for the blacksmith because when I play games like this, I just try
Okay.
to get it done. Alright, blacksmith, talk to you.
Alright, so you go to the blacksmith and you talk to him. The blacksmith opens up with a cheery and deep voice. "Oh ho! Welcome to the blacksmith's. What can I do for you today?" You reply, "The artificer down the road just suggested that I come here for the best quality sword for a magical infusion. Dare I ask that you have anything of the sort?" The blacksmith beams and replies to you, "Huh. I'm glad you asked about that, young man, because I can fashion just the right thing for you. If you pay me the money, of course."
Here's the money.
Right? Thank you. Seems like you're not the first customer to have done this. Then he looks around and he's like, "Wait, oh blazes! It seems I've run out of white plate metal. Young man, would you do me a favor and look around for this? I swear I had just the right amount, but I can't seem to find it. If you can locate it, you can bet that I'll make the best quality sword that you'll ever have laid your eyes on. And just maybe I can get Edgar to whip up some of that delicious roast that he's cooking for me."
Alright. Oh boy. Kind of feel like we got swindled a little bit. Can I examine this window structure area?
Yeah, you look through it, and there's just like an empty anvil there, and lots of blacksmith equipment. In the background, you can see another room with steaming hot fire, and someone seemingly cooking a lovely smelling meal from in there.
Okay. When I examine this strange object here.
This is the mysterious cake bush. It deceives children who think that that it's just a piece of cake, and they eat from it. And the seeds that they eat, they end up defecating around the area, and that leads to more cake bushes.
Okay. Can I pick anything up from it?
At the present time, there don't seem to be any berries. It seems it has caught its children already.
Gotcha. Alright, I'm gonna examine this then.
That looks like a strange object, and if you look closely at it, you can see that it has a handle on top. And on the upper area, you can see a few dials with letters on them. At the very bottom, you can see a little plaque with some strange script that you can't really make out. And next to it, an interesting emblem.
I'm gonna go talk to the oranges guy.
So you approach the orange vendor, and he cheerfully greets you. And he says, "Greetings, good sir. Welcome to my orange store. Would you like any oranges? They are fresh and very juicy."
Sure.
"Do you have any money for my oranges?"
I don't. Here's a map.
And he says, "Then go away. I don't need any right now."
Okay. Give it up. Just for free. I'll examine this.
You examine the strange plant pot. The plant pot itself looks like it's been made of Rachmaninoid craftsmanship, whereas what's in the plant is like some very fresh earth and soil. And growing out of it are some very miniature looking palm trees, but those turn out to be nightcrawl herbs. These things tend to look very innocuous during daytime, but when it comes to night, they crawl downwards and feed on the insects in the soil.
Oh wow. Can I pick anything up from here?
You don't see anything of interest to pick up.
Okay. I'm gonna go examine this tall plant here.
The tall plant is a mysterious flower that grows in this very ring. It was native to these lands when the Vedatai first arrived here. No one exactly knows why it is even there compared to the lack of vegetation everywhere else. But it survives, and probably survives to the water that is buried deep down inside this ring.
And how about this pot? I'm gonna examine it.
That barrel that you're looking at actually looks to be fairly well sealed, except for the fact that the seal is broken and it's slightly askew. Looks like you can open it.
Oh, I'm gonna open it.
You open the seal and you peer inside. And inside you find one fresh apple and one half a piece of a riddle. That would be item 8 and item 6. And as for that, okay, so the bottom half of the riddle that you get says this: "Try as you might to guess my name, I promise." That's all it says right now.
I'm gonna. It looks like there's something in this basket. Can I
You can.
pick up whatever's in this basket? Like oranges.
You'll have to examine it first.
Okay, I'm gonna examine that.
You examine the basket of oranges closely, and you notice that there's a flapping piece of paper inside there. It seems to have been carefully placed between the oranges by the orange vendor who's before you. There's some writing on it, but you can't quite make it out.
Can I use my red apple on the orange vendor, or talk to the orange vendor now that I have this red apple?
Okay. So you talk to the orange vendor, and he looks at you like, "You're back again? What do you need? What do you want?"
Tell me about my apple, or use my apple.
Okay. He looks at the apple, and he looks at you, and then he looks at the apple again. He's like, "Is that? Can I have a closer look at that?"
I suppose you can.
He grabs the apple out of your hands and then looks at it with a gleam on his eyes. And he's like, oh, no way. No way, this is one of the great apples of the Vedatais? This is incredible. Thank you, good sir. Take whatever you want. I'm rich, I'm rich. He cries out and rushes off into the back streets.
Swindled again. It seems. Okay. I'm gonna examine that crate again.
So you look closer at the piece of flapping paper, and you notice that the writing resembles the very same writing that you found earlier. And you can pick it up to look at it now.
Yeah, I'm gonna pick it up.
Okay, so you pick it up and you get item number 7. Okay, and the top half of the riddle says, some try to hide, some try to cheat, but time will show we always will meet. So you can combine the two puzzle pieces now.
Yes, I'm gonna do that.
Now you combine the two riddle pieces and you find that the full riddle says this. Some try to hide, some try to cheat, but time will show we always will meet. Try as you might to guess my name, I promise. That's correct.
Oh, it is? Oh,
Yeah.
damn, okay.
So you get the solution to the puzzle, which would be number 2. Pretend that says death. There you go.
Gotcha. Alright,
Alright, so now what will you do?
I'm gonna go. Go talk to the artificer, I think.
So she says, welcome back. Do you have the sword for me?
No. Can I use this solved code on her, though?
Okay, she looks at the solved code and she says, I'm sorry, I'm not sure I know what to do with this.
No help, artificer. Alright, I'm gonna leave, and, oh, you know what? Here, I'm gonna go back to this safe-looking thing, and examine it again.
You look at it closely and you notice that the letter dials are about 5 in number.
Or what?
There are 5-letter dials on the upper part of the chest.
Okay. So I'm going to use the solved code, the death, on the dials on the safe.
Okay. So you spin the dials and you position the letters in such a way that they form the word death, and you hear a click, and the upper part of the chest moves open. And inside, you find a single piece of white plate steel.
Oh, look at that. All right, I'm gonna
That
pick
would be
up.
item 5.
Item 5. Okay. So I picked that up. I'm going to go back to the blacksmith with this. And I'm going to talk to him again.
Okay. And the blacksmith is like, hey, welcome back. I'm glad to see you back here. Did you find any success?
Yes.
He beams and he looks like, oh, that's excellent. Can I see?
Here you go.
Awesome. He's like, oh, this is it. This is just the thing that I needed. Thank you. I'll get to working on your item right away. And then you reply, I had to go through a lot of trouble to get that for you, right? You ask with a smile. Then he beams back at you and he says, well, I shall right away go and ask Edgar to get some of that delicious roast that he's been working all day long on. And you can get a lovely dinner alongside this. And you reply with, I like the sound of that. And then you join Edgar and the blacksmith for a lovely dinner. The blacksmith works on the sword meanwhile. And by the end of it, you are presented with an excellent quality white plate sword, which is item 4.
Okay. Nice. Got my sword already. I think that's all that's left is go back to the artificer and talk to her.
Yep.
Or him. Her.
Her, yeah. And she's like, there we are, young man. I see that you've got something for me.
Yes. I'm going to use my sword on her.
And he's like, perfect. This is exactly the sword I was looking for. I'm glad you went to the right blacksmith. And she picks up the sword and she gets to work, uses her magic and whips up a perfect magically infused sword, which is the final item number 3.
Alrighty.
Oh, sorry.
Infused sword. Well, thank you very much, Artificer. I think I'm good. Probably gonna hit the exit now.
Yeah, and then she says, awesome. I'm glad I could have helped you. You're going to have a very happy client today.
Alrighty. Very cool.
And